Look at my portrait. You see the perfect lady, do you not? The absolute envy of London society. You see the pristine lace at my throat, the immaculate sweep of my dark hair, and the flawless, rigid posture of a woman who was born to wear diamonds. You look at me and you see pure, untouchable grace. But oh, my dear listener, if this paper could breathe, the scandal it would whisper. You see an angel of the house, but you cannot smell the tragedy of my reality. You cannot feel the heavy, damp wool rotting beneath my arms, nor can you taste the bitter, bloody chalk of my morning breath. History has so cruelly sanitized my past, washing away the agonizing grime, to leave only a romantic gly. But today, I can bear the silence no longer. I invite you into my dressing room. Lock the heavy mahogany door behind us. Draw the curtains, and I will confess to you the agonizing, scandalous truth of what it actually means to be clean in a world terrified of the water. The bitter truth is, we are all living a lie. We are walking suffocating fortresses of silk and velvet, constructed to seal the shameful reality of human flesh away from the delicate eyes of polite society. My tragic morning does not begin with the soothing luxury of a warm, steaming bath. Heavens, no. To submerge this frail body in hot water is considered an invitation to a fatal fever. The doctors, arrogant men who know nothing of a woman's suffering, swear that hot water opens the pores, allowing the foul, corrupted miasmas of the city to infect our very blood. And so I am condemned to wash in miserable pieces. I stand shivering in the cruel dawn light, the air in my bedchamber so freezing I can see the ghost of my own breath. My maid, her hands rough and unsympathetic, pours a single pitcher of tepid water into a cold porcelain basin. I take a coarse sea sponge and a harsh bar of lye soap that reeks of animal fat and ash. I am only permitted to wash the parts of me that the world might accidentally glimpse, or the parts that offend the most. The face, the delicate neck, the hands. The rest of my skin is abandoned, left untouched, day after agonizing day. I must rely on the harsh friction of my linen chemise to scrape away the sins of the flesh and absorb the desperate sweat of the night. By the time this wretched ritual is finished, I am not clean. I am merely rearranged. The chill in the room leaves me with a permanent, throbbing ache in my bones, my daily, silent penance for the unforgivable crime of being made of flesh. Once the body is wiped down, the great deception begins. Because we cannot wash our sins away, we must bury them under a mountain of fragrance. I splash heavy, cloying Florida water over my chest, a desperate attempt to drown the scent of humanity in sweet orange and clove. I dust myself frantically with crushed arrowroot powder, praying it will soak up the dampness I know will betray me the moment I am laced into my cage. But the walls of this era are built on dark, scandalous secrets. The greatest secret of all is that beneath the expensive French perfumes, we all smell of stale sweat, unwashed wool, and paralyzing fear. Before I reveal the darker, unspoken agonies of my vanity, promise me you will keep my confession safe. Subscribe to the Archives of Velvet and Dust. History is not a romance written in lace. It is a tragedy written in blood and bone. Subscribe and step deeper into the shadows with me. Now I must face the mirror and attend to my teeth. You so admire the delicate, closed-mouth smiles of Victorian heroines in paintings, assuming it was a sign of sweet modesty. It was not modesty, my friend. It was absolute, paralyzing shame. The sweet sugars from the colonies have flooded our extravagant dining tables, and as a result, our teeth are rotting inside our own skulls. To fight the decay, I must endure a bloody sacrifice. I dip a frayed twig of marshmallow root into my tooth powder. Do you know the horrors hidden in this powder? It is a gritty, violent paste made from crushed cuttlebone, pulverized brick dust, and harsh charcoal. I must scrub this cruel gravel against my delicate gums until they bleed crimson into the basin. The metallic taste of my own blood fills my mouth, mixing with the sharp, burning sting of camphor. Sometimes, when the apothecary is particularly ruthless, they add a drop of sulfuric acid to whiten the enamel. Yes, it eats away the yellow stains, but it also eats away the tooth itself. When the agony of an exposed nerve brings me to my knees in tears, there is no salvation but the brutal pliers of the barber surgeon. And so, we never smile. We dare not part our lips, because a smile is a graveyard of secrets. And then, there is my hair, my crowning glory, a heavy, dark cascade that the poets write sonnets about. It looks magnificent, does it not? But I have not washed it in a month. To wash the hair is a monumental, terrifying ordeal that risks catching a fatal chill, and so we avoid it until my scalp aches with the shameful weight of its own grease. Instead of the mercy of water, my maid stands behind me like an executioner and brushes it. 100 torturous strokes every morning, and 100 strokes every night. The stiff boar bristles scrape violently against my scalp, pulling the thick natural oils down to the very tips to create that fashionable, deceptive shine. When the grease becomes a scandal I can no longer hide, and the scent cannot be masked by the heaviest pomades, we resort to desperate, humiliating measures. My maid will crack an egg into a bowl of diluted ammonia, the very same harsh chemical used to scrub the scullery floors, and aggressively massage it into my head. The toxic fumes burn my eyes, making me weep and gasp for air, but it violently strips the grease away. To smell like a freshly scrubbed kitchen floor is considered a triumph over the scent of a real woman. But the most guarded secret of all, the one that makes my voice tremble to even speak of, is the agonizing betrayal of my own biology. Once a month, the fortress of my beautiful clothing becomes a prison of unspeakable paranoia. There is no comfort for us. There is only folded linen, thick, heavy cotton rags, and the sheer, heart-stopping terror of a ruinous stain. I must strap myself into a cumbersome sanitary belt, a humiliating harness of buckles hidden beneath my petticoats, holding the thick padding against my skin. The chafing is a constant, burning agony with every step I take across the ballroom floor. But I cannot weep. I cannot speak of my pain. I cannot cancel my appearances. I must sit perfectly upright at the tea table, smiling gracefully and discussing the weather, while a violent, agonizing battle is waged beneath my skirts. And when the endless day is finally over, those rags cannot simply vanish. They must be soaked in freezing water in the dead of night, washed in absolute secrecy by the flickering firelight, and dried completely out of sight. The men of the house must never, ever be reminded that the porcelain dolls they worship are made of bleeding flesh. When I am finally fully dressed, I am dragging 15 pounds of suffocating fabric. The chemise, the drawers, the corset cover, the steel crinoline, the heavy petticoats, and finally, the suffocating velvet gown. In the merciless height of a London summer, I cannot breathe, and I cannot sweat freely. The moisture is trapped, festering in the dark, restricted confines of my clothing. To protect the priceless velvet from my own ruined body, I wear dress shields, stifling half-moons of rubber sewn tightly into the armpits of my gown. They catch the sweat, turning into damp, foul-smelling sponges by the end of the afternoon. By the time I collapse back into this room at midnight, and the maid begins the agonizing, painfully slow process of unlacing my cage, the air that escapes from beneath my skirts is a heavy, suffocating cloud of stale lavender, ammonia, and human decay. This is my life. This is the reality of your beloved Victorian lady. We are not angels. We are beautiful gilded cages, rotting slowly from the inside out, poisoning ourselves with lead, acid, and denial, just to maintain the desperate illusion that we do not sweat, we do not bleed, and we do not smell. History has sold you a beautiful lie. The past was not a romance. It was a breathless endurance. We traded our comfort, our health, and our very souls for the sake of an impossible, cruel standard. As you sit in your modern world, with your hot water and your effortless freedom, I beg you to look at my portrait again. Look into my eyes. Was the grand illusion of perfection truly worth the secret agony of my reality? Or are you, in your desperate attempts to mask your own flaws, still wearing the very same corsets today? Tell me your verdict in the comments. Would you have survived the quiet, suffocating melodrama of 1880? Or would the scandalous truth have broken your heart?